Well, hello again. This is Ray Morales with The Blind Spot. And today, my guest is Matt Bradford. Matt, how are you?
Doing good, Ray. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, buddy. It's been a while since we've talked.
Yeah,
Is it?
last year I seen it fly by really fast, and I mean it's hard to believe that it was July.
Right. Um, for those of you that don't know, Matt and I first met each other out in uh, Florida what was it called? I can't even think of the name of the town.
Oh, Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, Florida. My goodness, my memory is just horrible after my stroke. But it's great to see you again. And anyway, Matt has got an amazing story that I'd love him to share with you folks, and I'm gonna give it to him. So Matt, just go ahead and give him a brief background of your story, and then we'll go on with the podcast.
All right, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Ray, for having me on the podcast. I'm sorry it's taken this long. So I live here currently in Central Kentucky, but I enlisted in the Marine Corps out of Virginia in 2000 and actually did the delayed entry program in 2004 and went off to boot camp in 2005. But I served with the Marines, Second Battalion, Third Marines, infantry 0311, and within that, about a year later, after sending on the yellow footprints, I was deployed to Iraq up in the Al Anbar province, which is, through 9/11. It's going to war and joining the military is what I wanted to do because I felt like that was my purpose. As I felt like it was, there's a lot of people that stood in those recruiting lines, and I was one of them. I wanted to deploy. I wanted to go fight the enemy. Like I didn't want to miss the war. And as the deployment was starting to wind down, it was pretty, a lot of firefights, a lot of I.E.D explosions, a lot of snipers. We dealt with it when we were over there, but as the deployment was winding down, I was on point as I was on every patrol, and I stepped in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and underneath me in this ditch that went inside of a pipe underneath the road was command wires that led to the I.E.D that turned my life from light to dark in a matter of seconds, and then finding out 3 weeks later that it removed both my legs and other, damage to my body, scars all over my body, loss of blood that pretty much entire body's worth of blood. So it was, and it put me in a coma for 3 weeks, but
Mm,
it kind of placed me down this detour in life, and I'm here today because the worst day kind of turned into the best day.
right. And can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Throughout these, so this Saturday, actually, January 18th will be my live day. It'd be 18 years since stepping on the I.E.D. And, you're thinking back about life, and it's like you learn to grow up real quick because I was only 20 years old. My whole focus was joining the military and retiring from the military and, going to war is like I planned on going to war with my brothers, coming home with them or not coming home at all. Like I didn't plan on being in a hospital bed. So like facing that depression, facing that willingness of just wanting to give up and not wanting to live this life, and finding out that brotherhood, camaraderie is not just like a recruiting pitch. It's not a cliche. It's for real because a lot of times in those dark moments, I had my brothers that were there for me. Um, just random people, chaplains, pastors that would show up. When I was sitting there just hating life and throughout these last 18 years to go the ups and downs of life, to face adversity and find out this is what I need to do to overcome it, and looking at my injuries and not like giving up on life because this is what I'm facing. These are the cards I've been dealt, and understanding that the importance of life is, almost lost my life on one wrong step,
Right.
and wanting to take advantage of every opportunity I got now and the second chance that I've been given. And ultimately, stepping on that I.E.D took so much from me. Having the title of Marine is what kept me in the fight. It led me to my wife, who I would have never met if I didn't step on that I.E.D. I wouldn't have had this family if I would have never stepped on that I.E.D. And you know, uh, 2.5 years of rehab, having a chance to re-enlist, which that's what I wanted to do was continue wearing the uniform and being there for other severely wounded service members to let them know that just because what they faced and what they deal with today is not doesn't mean life's over. April 7th of 2010, I reenlisted. I was the first blind Double-Amputee in the history of the Marine Corps to do that. Had a
Wow.
chance to go back to Camp Lejeune to work at the Wounded Warrior Battalion, and 2.5 years later, I had a chance to retire on my own and not be forced out medically. And, throughout that whole journey, I was starting to take college classes. And, ultimately that's what led us back to Kentucky because I wanted to go to the University of Kentucky.
Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats, yeah.
So yeah, I mean that is amazing your story, and to go back into the service after that horrific explosion, it just amazes me that you were able to do that.
I told myself very early on, and that was the biggest thing is like I didn't let other people tell me how to live my life. Like
Hmm.
I made it a start. All these other injured service members would come in my room and they would talk with me when I was in those dark moments. And I realized that, man, maybe this is my real purpose in life. Like, why can't I do what they're doing?
Uh-huh.
And from then on, like once my mindset turned from negative to positive, I started getting a little stronger. They started taking me off pain meds. I became, more able to get from the hospital bed to the wheelchair. And then, I told myself early on that I was going to live a normal life. Like these injuries are not going to define who I am. Like I might be blind, I might not have any legs, but it's not going to stop me from living life. And I knew to reenlist in the Marine Corps that the Marine Corps had a package, a program for me to do that. I just needed to do my part and go to work. Learn how to walk on prosthetics. Go to the
Right.
blind rehab center in Chicago. Do what I needed to do. Learn what I needed to learn. So when I submit my reenlistment package, that I proved to myself and I proved to them that I was willing to put in the work and do what it takes to stay in.
Right. So that just boggles my mind that all the hard work you had to put in it just didn't happen overnight, did it?
No, I mean, from January 18th to 2007 until when I reenlisted April 7th, 2010, and still today, it's like you still like I don't go to physical therapy, but I stay active.
Right.
Go out, get on the bike, go to the gym. Just putting my legs on and walking around, like always, moving forward, staying in motion because that's physical therapy. It's like the minute
Right.
that you sit on the couch and you start thinking about like, oh, poor me, then you know what, you're going a step backwards.
Right. And I was there, not because it's a horrific injury like yours. I had a stroke and it took my eyesight. But I mean, I was totally blackout blind for about a week,
Mm.
and then it gradually came back, but it didn't all come back. I told you earlier, I cannot see anything below my waist. It's
Hmm.
just totally blackout from there down. And then what I do see um, is just like fractured. It looks like I'm looking at a Picasso painting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like when I got hurt, like I was more worried about losing my legs and wanting them to grow back than I cared even about losing my eyesight.
yeah,
Like I just, and now having a wife and kids, I've kind of like I'd rather have my eyesight than my legs. It's
right.
kind of changed over the years, but I always tell myself I thank God, took my eyesight because he knew that if I looked at my legs and saw the scars and the amputations, that it would put me down a different path in life, and
Yeah,
so I think maybe it helped out with a lot of stuff because during that time, I mean, I think it's Robert Frost. Like, there's two paths that I could have chose. You know, the one less, less traveled is
right.
which what I did, or the one that would lead to the statistics, the suicide, the depression, the poor me status, the self pity, and I didn't want to go down that path. Like I
Right.
wanted to live life, and I knew the path that I chose was it was going to be a bumpy road. A gravel road is going to be a long, a climb. But I knew that I had a lot of people in my corner and a lot of strong people in my circle that kind of had the same mindset and knew where I wanted to go.
They had your back.
Exactly.
So tell me, what are you doing now that you're retired and you got all this free time on your hands?
So I still get out. I still do marathons on hand. And back in October, I've hand cycled the Marine Corps Marathon. Is the 11th time I've done that. Um,
Wow.
I've done it 12 total, but 5Ks, 10Ks. I like to get out. I like to go for walks. I like to get on an upright bike, and the last few years through COVID, especially, well, going back to about 2017. I've cycled across the state of Kentucky 407 miles. I've done several century rides, Spartan races. from 2011 when I was getting out of the Marine Corps. Like I started taking college classes in 2017. I graduated from the University of Kentucky, and then I was wanting to pursue a master's, but then I had a job fall into my lap to where I started working with veterans outreach
Hmm.
at the congressional office. Did that for 2.5 years, but since 2007, like I was never somebody who liked to get in front of an audience and speak, but I feel like it kind of was, you know, they people saw the way my positivity, spread and the story and they started asking me to get up and speak. And so I've been doing that for the last 18 years and I do that on my own, but then also I go out and work with a nonprofit called Troops First Foundation. And we talk to the military and veterans about suicide and resiliency and, reaching out to their battle buddies and providing them the right resources when they are having these dark days and these struggles.
Yeah, I forgot the statistics on how many a day um, commit suicide. It's staggering.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really knows. Everybody always says 22 a day, but you always hear that there's more.
Yeah,
And it's sadly we're not going to like make it zero overnight, but it's like I feel like if all of us can work together with our own little system, our own the contacts in our own phone and checking on our own battle buddies, then all of us can slowly start lowering those numbers. It's just focus on your
right.
own circle.
Yeah, I have about 20 vets that I call, and not
Yep.
daily, but at least check in once a month to see how they're doing.
And that's what
Uh,
our ethos is to make a call, take a call, and be honest. It's being willing to pick up the phone and call somebody. And I did a lot of that through COVID when it was just more of like there was nothing else to do because we were on lockdown. So it's like I just scrolled through
right,
my contact list, like, well, I haven't talked to him in a while. But
right.
every morning, like I just I go through my phone, I send out a bunch of text and just to check in on people. And it's maintaining that brotherhood, that camaraderie, but it's also I'm like, hey, they might be okay, but just hearing their voice might put you in a better spot, or
Right.
you might talk to them and they might be dealing with some kind of financial issue, or they might be dealing with something. But you know, I think it was I forgot 2015, 2016. I had a really good friend that I went to rehab with, and about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, he called me and I let it go to voicemail. I didn't answer. I never called him back, and I found out the day after Thanksgiving that he committed suicide. And
Oh man.
um, you know, living with that and not knowing like, okay, maybe that phone call could have been like, hey Matt, I need help. Hey,
Right.
can or just wanted to hear my voice, just wanted to talk, and sadly I won't get to ask him those questions until I see him in heaven. But it was people look at suicide and they're like, oh, it's always the depressed, it's always the sad, but this guy is somebody who got injured overseas, re-enlisted, very positive, went back to
Hmm.
Afghanistan, married with a family, just got a house, and went to the VA and just had a bad appointment and came home and took his life, and it's just it could happen to
Yeah.
all of us from the lowest private to the highest general. We just
Right.
we got to have that connection and make sure that we're there for each other no matter what, because we all face those bad days.
It's just one thing that can do it, man. It's like turning on a light switch.
Yeah, and it could be the smallest of things too.
Right. And you never know what it can be. So you
Yep.
really have to be careful in what you say when you're talking to these guys. Um, but also, you also want to just encourage them and always not take their side just because, but be there for them.
Yeah, it's
Like you said, a battle buddy.
yeah, like have those honest conversations. Those conversations could be hard, could be difficult.
Right.
And for a lot of us who started in the military, a lot of those times like we don't want to have those conversations. We don't want to open up and say that we're struggling and that we need help.
You don't
You
want to
know.
show weakness. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, and
Well,
that's the one thing. It's like it's not that you're weak. I feel like you're stronger when you ask for help. And it's like when you put your hand up and say, "Hey, I need help." And it's just you go to a counselor, you go to a therapist. It's what they're there for. Just sit there for an hour and just vent. And I'm pretty certain once you leave that conversation, you're going to feel a lot better.
right. Yeah. But I think society, puts a label on things. And if you do that, you're considered weak.
Yep.
But I think being a real man is showing your weakness,
Exactly.
um, and
Yeah.
being vulnerable for your other friends and stuff to let them know that they can be weak too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're
We'll
here
be
for
we'll
each
be we'll
other.
be, we'll be weak together.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, I'm going to start wrapping this up, but I know you work with a lot of different groups and stuff. Would you like to plug a few of those? And I'll put that information up on the screen in the final edit.
Yeah, so the main organization that I work with, Troops First Foundation. We got a program now. It's our initiative, and it started out with Operation Proper Exit. And if you want to check it out, my closure trip to Iraq in 2011, 60 Minutes went with us. It's on YouTube called Operation Proper Exit. But now that the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have gone away, that um, they're not sending people over anymore. That we kind of focus more on the suicide issue, and it's called Operation Warrior Call, and it's having those honest conversations and reaching out to your battle buddies, and that's kind of a lot of the work that I do now, and maintaining that relationship and going to these units and sharing the ups and downs of my life, and we have a bunch of other speakers, but then also the Injured Marine Simplify Fund, and of course the blinded veterans as well. It's I've kind of dwindled it down over the years to where there's only a few organizations that I work with.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. There's not too many organizations that I actually that I'm signed up that I'm a part of because I like to do what I can to help out. I don't want to be tied
Right,
down to one organization. That's just I want to be here for all veterans, not just a certain amount. And I
right.
want to do my part. I feel like like I mentioned, what kept me alive in 2007 was not only being a Marine, but understanding that I have purpose. A lot of people are looking for purpose once they get out of the military, once they deal with injuries, and it's just being willing to ask for help, being willing to reach out. Hey, what I took advantage of school. I think school is the most important thing. I think for veterans that taking advantage of the GI Bill is very crucial. Those benefits that we have, don't let them go to waste. Um, but it's just getting out and living life, and I live my life, no legs, no vision, no problem.
That's
My
the
legs aren't growing
slogan.
back anytime soon. I'm hopeful that I'll see one day, but until then, I'm going to keep living life because I'm not gonna lie, I'm an adrenaline junkie, and nothing gives me more adrenaline than going down a hill on a hand cycle or a bike at 40 miles an hour. It's just it's exciting, and just living life with no problems. These are
Yeah,
the cards I've been dealt. This is who I am, and this is who I'm proud to be.
excellent. And how can people get a hold of you if they want you to be a guest speaker at their church or whatever?
So I got a website. It's matthew-bradford.com. My email, simplify@matthew-bradford.com. I'm on all social medias, Instagram, M_Bradford USMC. My Facebook page is No Legs, No Vision, No Problem. Just send messages, email is always the best way to reach me. And I'm always looking forward to, getting out there, sharing my story to whoever wants to listen, whoever wants to invite me. And, I think the most awesome thing with getting out and, amongst these communities within this country, or world or whatever, is meeting, these people, is meeting, creating those friendships.
Right. Well, I tell you, it's been great talking to you, and we have to make sure that we see each other sooner than once a year, I think.
Yeah, same here. And whenever, always willing to jump on here and chit chat with you if you ever, need me for anything.
I'll give you a holler.
All right. Thank
Um,
you so much.
well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. And folks, this young man is definitely a hero in my book. So I appreciate it if you would give him a holler if you want a guest speaker at your school or church or civic group. He'd be willing, I'm sure. And anyway, just make sure you get in touch with him through me or through his various ways of communicating. Well, our time is about up, Matt. So I'm going to say good day, and you have a good night, and say hi to the family for me. And that's wrapping up another episode of The Blind Spot by Ray Morales. You can reach us here on YouTube, or you can reach us at theblindspot298 at gmail.com. All right. Goodbye, folks. Until next time.